with John. On this channel, we talk all things physical media, so movies, music, and books. If you're into that kind of thing, go ahead and subscribe down below for more of that kind of content. Well, friends, this is another episode of The Five. This is a series where we talk to other fellow YouTubers or movie collectors and get to know them a little bit better, ask 5 questions, and to each question they respond with 5 films. And it's been a really fun series so far. Again, this is episode number 15. I can't believe we're already this far into the series. And this is a great conversation with my friend James. He has a YouTube channel here called 20th and 21st Movies, and it is an outstanding channel. If you are especially a fan of Criterion films, then you absolutely need to subscribe to his channel and follow his content. He has some really in-depth videos that I highly recommend that you check out. One of the new series he has going this year is called Taste Of. He recently did one with on Billy Wilder, the director, and talking about some of his films. And so that's a series I know I'm looking forward to in this brand new year. So friends, this was a really great conversation. I enjoyed it. It was my first time getting to talk to James, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to talk movies with him. So friends, I hope you enjoy this one. This is episode number 15 with James from 20th and 21st Movies.
If they put out either Fargo or No Country for Old Men in 4K, if they announced that this year, my year would be done. Especially if it's No Country for Old Men on 4K, I'd be like, okay, I'm done. Good to go. I'm good for the year.
Yeah.
You know, seeing these three together, this is like the holy trinity of science fiction movies right here. I mean, Kirk, William Shatner, DeForest Kelly, and Leonard Nimoy. It just doesn't get any better than that, you know?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. I bet Jonathan Frakes probably appears.
He does
in there.
He's so good.
Number one, make it so. Number one.
Well, thank you everybody for checking out this episode of The Five. And I'm here with James from 20th and 21st Movies. And so James, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Hey, John, I appreciate the invitation. I absolutely love your channel and love this series that you have going on YouTube. Just some great conversations that I've seen. And I just absolutely love the passion that you bring to the community and just your love of film, and definitely looking forward to our conversation. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. One of the things I love about your channel is you have an emphasis on not just a specific genre of film or even an era of film. I'm a huge fan of older films and classics. And so I love how your channel really does span, you mentioned even on your channel, from the 20s straight through till today. And so I do have a couple questions for you before we dive into the 5. And one of them is, if you did have to pick a decade, because I know you're a fan of, over 100 years of film, if you had to land on one, what decade do you think you'd land in?
I would say, oh my goodness, that is really tough.
It is an unfair question.
I would say that if I had to pick one decade, I would probably say the 1970s. Really? There's a special place in my heart for that period of cinema. I just love the vibe of that era. I love films that come out from the 70s, and especially films that capture iconic places like New York City. It's just there's just a special vibe about the 70s, and the way people dress with the bell bottoms. You see films like Saturday Night Fever and John Travolta, cool and doing this thing at that time. And just various films from that period of time, from Clint Eastwood, John Travolta, Taxi Driver, that I saw again last night, actually. It's just a cool era of cinema that I love, but it's hard to choose because there's so many different decades of cinema. But if you pin me down to one, I'll roll with the 70s.
I was born in 78, so I was in the 70s for a short period of time. Don't remember a lot of it. And obviously, but I was thrifting, and I found the complete series of Welcome Back, Kotter with John Travolta. And so that came out when my parents were dating. And so for me, it was so fun. I bought it, and I'd never seen the show, but I bought it, and it was blowing me away, realizing while watching it, like, this is what's influencing my parents while they're dating, like culturally. This is what's happening in their world. And that's one of the reasons I love going back and watching older film, is you see how culture has evolved and ideas and themes, what was popular.
Absolutely.
Even like you said, dress, technology, all of this you see evolve.
Yeah.
And you have a documentary of it essentially in film being entertained.
Yeah.
I found season 1 of I Love Lucy on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about it is you get to choose between edited or unedited. And if you go unedited, it's all the smoking commercials,
the
doctors
cigarette commercials.
Coming out.
Yes.
Doctors coming out going, this is the healthy cigarette for you.
Yes.
And it was just blowing my wife and I our minds watching it going, this was
those commercials
cultural.
Really are something else, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, I had those first 2 seasons and I was disappointed that I was hopeful that they'd do all the seasons. I think they stopped after the second season because they haven't done the third and beyond. But you're right. I mean, they have those classic commercials that could never air today. But that's what people saw back then. And it's like, wow, that's really interesting. Filtered cigarettes and the guy looking distinguished and selling the pitch. And it's like, okay,
yeah.
Absolutely. And I think people even back then, people probably knew, the harmful effects of it, but, not as much as today. But I think people probably had an inkling that this might not be the best thing for you, but it was great marketing at that time,
It was, because the doctor would come on sitting back, smoking, and then the next scene was typically all of the characters are on like a kitchen table, all smoking.
Yeah.
And so you have doctor's approval, and then the people you look up to in pop culture doing it in front of you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was, wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's cool. It's the 70s. That's awesome. By any chance, do we have 70s in the films you picked for tonight?
I believe so. All right,
cool.
Yes.
I look forward to that.
Oh yeah.
So one of the series you have on your channel, which I really like, is the Taste of series.
Okay.
And you recently did Billy Wilder, and I was really excited when that came out because I do love a lot of his films.
Yes.
And so the ones I have in my collection. So what I love is when I watch like a video like that, is I instantly go to my collection. Like when Ken from Mid-Level Media did the Western month, I thought, I don't have any Westerns. And I went to my collection and realized I have a bunch of Westerns.
Yeah.
So I loved your video in that it made me go to my collection and go, what do I have of Wilder?
Oh,
so
cool.
I've got, A Foreign Affair is what I've got with Jean Arthur's in it, who I adore.
Love your favorite actress. Yep.
Absolutely. Sabrina with Bogart and Audrey Hepburn.
I need to see that one. Yep.
You mentioned Some Like It Hot. I actually just saw that about a month and a half, 2 months ago for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so good.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I loved it that one was in your video.
Yeah. I'm debating. I have the Criterion of it, and I think it might be this Tuesday, the Kino Lorber 4K is coming out.
Yeah.
And I'm debating, do I upgrade or do I just stick with, I think for now I'm going to just stick with my Criterion. They do such a great job with their Blu-rays, especially their 4K restorations, that, the Blu-ray, the 4Ks might be an upgrade, but it doesn't just blow away the Blu-ray necessarily. So I'll probably just stick with my Criterion for now. But yeah, that's a great film. I love it. Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, Marilyn Monroe, just a great film.
Yeah, Tony Curtis, he made me laugh a lot in that one. Going into the film, I'd seen a lot. I have a lot of Jack Lemmon in my collection.
Yeah,
I only have a couple Marilyn Monroe, and I don't have much at all, and hadn't seen much Tony Curtis. So it was a lot of fun watching him. In that film. Yeah,
he's a great actor, and he's another Criterion edition that he's in that is really good with him and Burt Lancaster is Sweet Smell of Success. Okay. That is a great one, great Criterion one. Really good film. Very different character, it's not a comedic, performance, but really great acting from Tony Curtis and Burt Lancaster in that one.
Cool. And then the last two I have I have three more in my collection, but two I have that I've seen is The Fortune Cookie and The Front Page, both with Lemmon and Mathau. And then I've got Ace in the Hole, but haven't seen it. And then I was looked up after your video, Cagney's in 1, 2, 3, which I also haven't seen, but would love to see that film.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So you Yeah, you after watching your video, I was like adding more films to my collection or my wish list of films I want to chase down,
Yeah.
which is always dangerous watching friends on YouTube, their videos, because the
Yeah.
wish list grows and grows.
Yeah. Mine continues to grow even as we speak, you know.
And then the last question I have for you before the 5 is, I know one of the reasons I love your channel, I think I discovered your channel while searching Criterion videos, because you have a lot of Criterion content on your channel, which I love. And so I'm only about a year and a half into collecting Criterion.
Okay.
So anyway, my question for you are, if you could pick like 2-3 films that currently are not in the collection, but you think would be a fantastic addition to the collection, what would you pick for like 2 or 3 films?
One film that I would love to see come to the collection, because I know Criterion has put out a number of Coen Brothers films. So they put out Inside Llewyn Davis, and they put out Blood Simple, and Miller's Crossing, I think it's coming out this month. If they put out either Fargo or No Country for Old Men in 4K, if they announce that this year, my year would be done. Especially if it's No Country for Old Men on 4K, I'd be like, okay, I'm done.
Good to go.
I'm good for the year.
Yeah. Nice.
So definitely No Country for Old Men or Fargo would be awesome. Trying to think what else. I would say those two would be at the top of my list.
Cool.
Those 2 Coen Brothers films, as well as well, you said that a film that's not currently in the collection, so it would be those 2 films.
Awesome. Cool. I love every time I get that email from Criterion about what the next, the slate of films coming up. I'm always so excited and so curious.
Oh yeah.
Because they do such a phenomenal job. And so I've been loving collecting. I'm only a year and a half in, and I love it. They're outstanding products. So
yeah, they do a great job. And even when, things aren't perfect, like the Citizen Kane thing. And I heard about the, Hard Day's Night, the 4K, some issues with that disc. They do a good job of remedying the situation pretty quickly and taking care of it, but they're a fantastic company.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. I am very excited to hear your 5, your 25. So I've got, as always, my pad paper and a pen here to write down all these films that I'm going to go home. So what I literally do every time I film one of these episodes is I end up going home, laying on my couch. I eat cereal, go home, lay on my couch, and I watch.
What kind of cereal do you eat?
Well, depend. If I'm being good, it's just healthy stuff, Kashi and all those kinds of things.
Okay.
But I did buy some chocolate Cheerios today that I'm looking forward to diving into. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, nothing wrong with that. I might do that Special K vanilla, whatever it's called.
Oh, vanilla almond?
Yes, vanilla almond. Yeah.
I had that in my hand today, and I ended up switching it up. I think there was just a touch less sugar in it. And I was like, I should probably make that choice today. But I do love that. I did buy recently just plain Special K, and I had to fill it with fruit to get by because it was just, there was just not enough.
Just too plain.
Yeah. But so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go home, eat cereal, and then I'm going to watch the trailers to all of these films you're going to tell me about. So that will be my evening.
Sounds good. And I'm sure I'll be writing down some as well.
Well, friends, if you're watching this episode, you've never seen one before, James and I are going to chat 5 questions. To each question, there will be 5 films. And this is about talking films with friends and getting to know YouTubers a little more. And then getting 25 film recommendations, which isn't a bad thing at all. So, awesome. All right, let's get started. So what are the 5 films you've most recently seen?
All right. So 5 films that I have recently seen. I will start off with one that I just mentioned. That is a film that it was part of the Columbia Classics Volume 2 set that I recommend definitely picking up. And it's a classic film from Scorsese starring Robert De Niro and Taxi Driver. So I've seen this film before. I have a previous edition of this film that came out, Blu-ray edition. This is the 4K. And this part of the Columbia set. It's got this really cool, cover here in the case and a nice slip. but this is just an absolutely amazing film. If you haven't seen it, it's one of Scorsese's masterpieces. It's got Robert De Niro in it, Sybil Shepherd. You've got Jodie Foster in here. Albert Brooks plays a nice part in this film. It's from 1976. And I was mentioning before about the 70s. Well, this 4K disc looks so incredible. I mean, they did a great job with the restoration on here, that there's a lot of nighttime scenes in New York City. He's a taxi driver in New York City. He's a Vietnam War, veteran, Marine. So he has PTSD, and he's driving taxis, and he has some issues. So it's basically about his slow descent into madness as a taxi driver. And you see a lot of scenes in the night time of New York City on the streets, and the daytime as well. It just looks amazing. And it's just a great time capsule of New York City in the 1970s, and just a great film. So definitely recommend Taxi Driver. A great film. This is a film that I've never seen before here, from Cameron Crowe, who's written a lot of good stuff. And it's Almost Famous.
Oh yeah.
From 2000. And this is a really, really interesting film. It's basically about a young man who is writing for the Rolling Stones as a teenager, and he's following this band and just covering this band during their tour. And it's a really interesting film. Got Kate Hudson in it, and it's a nice rock and roll film written by Cameron Crowe. He's the same writer of who wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High from Amy Heckerling. So, and he's also, I believe, he's the writer and director of, maybe the director of Jerry Maguire. So, yeah, Cameron Crowe. So, Almost Famous. Have you seen that film?
I want to say I have, but maybe it was when it came out. I know I haven't since it came out, and I'm familiar with the film. Yeah, so I feel like I might have, but yeah. But I've heard that's a great release.
Yeah, it's a pretty good release. It's 4K. It was made in 2000, but this is it's a period piece. It takes place in the 70s. So you have that whole 70s vibe around it, and the browns and the yellows. It has that 70s look, and it looks fantastic on 4K. It's not the most colorful film. It has sort of a muted color palette to sort of fit the visual vibe they're going for here, but it's a really good one.
Cool.
Almost Famous. So the next one here is Criterion. You're going to see a few Criterions, of course, in this talk here. Jane Campion's The Piano. This is a 4K release. This is a really, really good film. This film stars Holly Hunter and Anna Paquin, and I'm drawing a blank. Harvey Keitel and Sam Neill. Like, wait a minute, who are the guys in this film? Harvey Keitel and Sam Neill. But Holly Hunter and Anna Paquin won Oscars for their roles in this film. This is a period piece from the 1800s. Takes place in Scotland. Starts off in Scotland, but mostly takes place in New Zealand. This is Holly Hunter plays a young woman who has a daughter. Anna Paquin's pretty young in this film. It's from 1993. They live in Scotland, but her father gets her into an arranged marriage with a man in New Zealand, who's Sam Neill's character. So Holly Hunter and Anna Paquin have to pack their bags in Scotland, get on a boat, go to New Zealand to go be with Sam Neill. Harvey Keitel is a man that works with Sam Neill's character. And so there's a dynamic between Holly Hunter, Sam Neill, and Harvey Keitel. And Anna Paquin is her daughter, and she is absolutely brilliant. That's partly why she won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. But this is a really neat period piece. I did a review on my channel for this one. I said that this may not be a film for everybody. If you're not into period pieces like this or slow moving films, this might not be, for everybody, but it's a really good film and I really enjoyed it. And this 4K looks absolutely fantastic from this. And this is by Jane Campion. So
Cool.
The Piano. And so that's what is that, 3? I think I got a couple more here. So the fourth one is from my favorite director, Alfred Hitchcock, Stage Fright. So I had never seen this film before. It's from 1950. And this is a Warner Archive release. And this is really, really good. I love Hitchcock films, and any addition to my library for Hitchcock, I'm definitely game for. And this is a really, really good one. So Stage Fright.
Nice.
And then the last one in this category, I could go deeper, but I'll just stick with this one here, maybe. This one is a film that I've seen before, but I wanted to finish the trilogy, and it's this here, the Dragon Tattoo trilogy.
Oh yeah.
So the first is a series of films based upon the novel from Stieg Larsson from Sweden. And it's basically about this man here, played by Michael Nyqvist. He plays Mikael Blomqvist. And you have this girl here who is Lisbeth Salander, played by Noomi Rapace. And basically, they work together to solve different crimes in Sweden across this trilogy. And the very first film is called The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and it's the best film of the trilogy. And it's basically about, you have this journalist, he gets in trouble for, doing a story about an industrialist. So he goes to jail for a little bit, but he's hired by a very wealthy family, by a wealthy, magnate to research the disappearance of his niece, who disappeared 40 years ago in 1966 or what have you. And he never knew what happened to her. So he hired Michael to investigate what happened to her. And this girl here, Lisbeth Salander, is a professional hacker. She's a cyber expert. She knows how to research things. And so they work together to solve the crime of what happened to this girl. So it's the very best of the series. You also have the girl who played with fire and the girl who kicked the hornet's nest. But the girl with the dragon tattoo, the first film, is the best film in this series. So that's number 5.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. I definitely recommend The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And there's also an American remake of this starring Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara that came out like 2 years after this film. This is from 2009, and 2011 is when that remake came out. And it's also really good. So
okay, great.
Yeah.
So you're a big Hitchcock fan then?
Yes.
Okay. So Hitchcock is, I've seen a few, but not a lot.
Okay.
Rear Window will be the last one I've seen of his. But I watched the other day, I found a film at a Goodwill, Homicidal.
Okay.
And it was...
I have not seen that one.
It came out a year after Psycho did.
See, I'm writing this down. Okay, Homicidal.
It came out a year... William Castle was the guy who directed that film. It came out a year...
Oh, okay.
So it's a year afterwards, and it's amazing. So there's controversy over, did he just rip off like so much from Hitchcock in Psycho, or was it just a really beautiful, almost love letter of, I was so inspired by that I created this. But he had in this, you might really like it if you like Hitchcock, because it had this really cool thing. One of the reasons I grabbed it was, I think it's called The Fright Break. And in the theater in, I think it was 62, there was called The Coward's Corner. And right before the big reveal happens, the film stops and the director's voice comes over, and a second hand comes up, and you have 60 seconds to get to the coward's corner. And there was an actual corner in the theater where all the cowards would go if you couldn't handle what you think was about to happen. And so it happens in the film, or the DVD version I have of it. So anyway, if you're a Hitchcock guy, you might like that one. So
okay, I'll have to check it out. Homicidal. Okay.
It's very campy, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It was good.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I absolutely love Hitchcock. For me, he's the greatest. And I started with him. My interest in his work began not in his films, but I remember growing up, my mother and I loved his television series called Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Mm-hmm.
So he had like this, it was this, I think, hour episode each that did a story, a suspense story on television. And that's before I got into his actual films. And then I got into his films later on and was just blown away by his films. He's just an amazing director,
Yeah.
just all the way across the board. Of course there's Psycho, The Birds, Rear Window, and Vertigo, the films that most people are familiar with, but there's also the early Hitchcock, going back to his days and when he started in Britain in those early films, and then when he first came to the United States and did Rebecca and Notorious and Foreign Correspondent, and then went on to do those later films. He just had an amazing career. So
amazing. I've picked up a few Hitchcock films in the Criterion Collection, but haven't got through them all yet. So
yeah, it's good stuff.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Number 2, the second question is, what 5 films do you have your earliest memories from?
All right. So let's see here. Earliest memories. I would say definitely these are some films here. There's probably some other ones that I couldn't think of, but I was just thinking of, okay, what are some 5 films that come to mind? And this one here is definitely, when I think about like the greatest superhero movies ever, which I need to do a video on on the greatest superhero movies ever. And this one for me would be very high on that list because it sort of started it all. And that is from 1978, another 70s movie, Superman, the movie, which, it doesn't get more classic than you see these 3 people at the bottom here. You see Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, and Gene Hackman. It just doesn't get any better than that. I mean, this has not been equaled. I mean, by anything that I've ever seen, by any Superman incarnations afterwards just haven't lived up to the dynamic and the chemistry of these characters. But this was a superhero movie that started it all. So I absolutely love this film. Of course, I saw it, after it came out and everything, but I just absolutely love this film. It's a little cheesy by today's standards. The special effects don't really hold up, but the charm of these characters and these actors definitely carries it more than anything. So I love this film.
Cool. It's definitely a universally respected film.
Yeah. And you hear that music, and even people who have never ever seen this film, they know what it is. It's the Superman theme,
Yeah.
And of course, I'm a big Georgia Bulldogs fan. So we just carried home the big win of last month, and one of the things that our Red Coat band plays is the Krypton theme from Superman. So we really enjoy that. But yeah, Superman is one that I really love and have some good memories of. Another one, because I'm a big Star Trek fan, was a big Star Trek fan when I was a kid, is this film here, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Got a little glare here, but Star Trek II. So you got, of course, William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and Ricardo Montalban, basically reprising his role from the, I believe, episode Space Seed from the original Star Trek TV series from the 60s, coming back in The Wrath of Khan in what still is considered to be the greatest Star Trek film by most people. I absolutely love this film. Just beautiful. Love it.
My dad and I grew up, and he and I, one of the ways we connected was watching reruns of the 60s Star Trek.
Yes.
And so we watched that religiously together. And then when The Next Generation came on, he and I watched that together every time it was on. So I am a huge Star Trek fan. And I recently picked up those 3 seasons of the original show on Blu-ray. And it's so fun to watch it. I just for the first time I found it on Blu-ray, Picard. and I
Okay, yeah.
watched
How
through
is
season.
that?
Oh man, it is. I love it. It's for me. It's so much fun, and Patrick Stewart is a genius, and
Hmm.
he's just world renowned. So I knew
Yeah.
he was going to be perfect. But what I loved was as the series goes on in episodes, you'll see characters from the show appear for an episode or
Okay.
maybe two episodes. And the best way I can describe it is it's as though like your childhood friends, you haven't seen them in decades. And then
Okay.
all of a sudden they just start showing up in your life. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've seen you. And I want to know everything that's happened. And as
Yeah.
I'm watching through Picard, that's what the whole series felt like to me was like, it was like these flashbacks of growing up, sitting beside my dad,
Yeah.
watching the show and all these old friends just reappearing. So
Yeah.
I highly, highly recommend that series.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I bet Jonathan Frakes probably appears,
He does.
in
And
there.
it's so good.
Number
When
one, make it so. Number one.
it's so good, man. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think season 2, I think starts maybe this month. And I
Okay.
think season 3 has already been filmed, I believe. So
Yeah.
yeah, great.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to check it out. Write down Picard. Yeah. I've seen it. But it's like everything else. There's so much stuff to watch. I can't keep up with all of it.
I hear you.
Oh man, that looks good. That looks good.
Yeah.
There's not enough time in the day to watch all this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, I definitely want to check that out because I love Star Trek and I really liked The Next Generation. I thought it was really, really good, really well done.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say I didn't like about Picard, and it's not I don't like it for all films, but because I was a little kid watching Star Trek with my dad,
Yeah.
I was bummed out because it was surprising. There's a decent amount of language in it that's like, so it's like a mature, which I'm fine with. I love John Wick films. It's just nonstop killing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
and explicit content. So I'm cool with that. But for me, when I was watching the show, I was like, this means probably there's like 7 or 8 year olds that won't watch the show with their dad, you know what I mean? Or with their mom. And that kind of bummed me out because I have so many years of memories of sitting by my dad. And I know he would never let me watch it if that was there.
They had that language in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of bummed me out a little bit because it was always so like anyone can watch it kind of a thing. Like even a little kid could watch it.
Yeah.
Anyway, needless to say, it's fantastic. I cannot wait to see season 2.
Okay.
And my daughter has no interest in those kind of shows. So so we're not losing out there. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, I'll have to check that out. And so the next one here is a film from, a comedian I love, Eddie Murphy, Boomerang. This film here. It's I think the tagline here says it all: a player who's about to be played. Eddie Murphy plays a playboy in this film. He Casanova, and he knows how to play the lady, so to speak. And but in this case, he runs up against Robin Givens, who's about to play him. So this is just a really good film. It's got Martin Lawrence in here, David Alan Grier. You've got, of course, Halle Berry. This is from 1992. So you see all these actors, in that young prime. It's got a absolute killer soundtrack from Toni Braxton at the time with her, I think her first album, and just so many incredible songs like, Love Should Have Brought You Home Last Night, and just some, I think Breathe Again, and just so many great classic soul songs. And this film is just so funny. His character Marcus Graham is he's a hoot. So I love this film, Boomerang. He is an absolute nut. And Eartha Kitt is in here as well, legendary actress. So love this film.
Isn't it amazing? Like when those films come out, we have no idea in the moment that we're looking at a cast of future legends.
Yes.
And,
yes.
20, 30 years down the road, we're going to look back like, how did you ever pull that cast together,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
those
I love it.
really
I mean, you've got, of course, Eddie Murphy and Halle Berry there, and
crazy,
Martin Lawrence, Grace Jones. And, of course, I have this on DVD. There's never been a Blu-ray release of this film.
Okay.
And this is, I don't think, And this is a film I'm perfectly happy, as it's the case with a lot of films in my collection. I'm perfectly happy with just DVD on this. I don't watch this very often, and DVD's alive and well, so works for me. For a film like this. But yeah, I love Boomerang. It's so many great lines in it and a lot of good memories. And then the next film is a film that has no shortage of home video releases, and that's Terminator 2. It probably holds the record for home video releases. I should Google this. I don't even know how many. This is the Skynet edition of Terminator 2.
Crazy.
Which is probably the 33rd edition that came out of this film. But this is a classic film. Arnold Schwarzenegger needs no introduction. It's just a fantastic film. I'm really looking forward to, I know there's a 4K of this movie, but I have not gotten it because I heard the transfer is not great. But once they do a truly proper 4K master of this film, I will definitely plan to pick it up. It's just one of those great films. Of course, I have this old DVD version of it. This is the Extreme DVD edition. So the Extreme DVD, this is the Skynet Blu-ray. So I'll pick up the whatever 4K that comes out a year from now.
Amazing.
And then the last film is, I think that's the last one. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. The last one in this for this one is a film that is just a classic. It is Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump. And I just absolutely love this film. It's to me, it's one of the great films that's ever been made. It's just so poetic and beautiful. And I just love the story of Forrest, the way they interweave his character through different events in history comically. And just his relationships with Lieutenant Dan and Bubba and Jenny and his mom, played by Sally Field, just legendary characters. I mean, and just the story is so beautiful and poetic, and his relationship with his son and just how it deals with, people that have disabilities, and how, even people that have challenges can achieve amazing things that you wouldn't think that they would be able to achieve, so just an incredible film. And it deals with Vietnam and different areas of history. It's just a hoot. Stuff happens, sometimes it does. I love just certain scenes in the movie, but I won't spoil, but how he has a hand in different things in history. This is just one of the classic comic films of all time. So Forrest Gump, love it.
Just a ton of compassion in that film. And I think that I was looking up for a video last night with Tim Talks Talkies. I was doing some research on his videos. I think that's number 71 on the AFI Top 100 in American film history. So that film is culturally significant. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and, yeah. It's so good.
It's a great film. Yeah.
Well, cool. No one, I'm pretty sure, in these first 14 episodes has mentioned Star Trek films. So I'm super pumped that made the list. Because I'm a massive fan.
Oh, so
cool. That's great. All right. So on to number 3. What 5 films have had the greatest impact on you? It can be emotionally, life perspective, impacting your worldview, your passion for film, any of those kinds of things, but the biggest impact on you.
Okay. So I got another pile over here. So as far as films, and by the way, these are great questions. I love these questions.
Oh, good.
So the films, I had to think about this, but these are some films that represent some of those types of films for me. I would say that at the top here, one of the films is a film that I don't watch very often, so I don't revisit this film very often, but I remember when I saw it, that it really had a pretty big impact on me in terms of just how well this film was made and just how beautifully it presents a story. And it is The Passion of the Christ. It's the Mel Gibson film, and I really appreciate how well made this film is, because a lot of times, oftentimes these films are not necessarily the best made, films. But Mel Gibson, to me, he really showed that he is just an incredible filmmaker. I mean, with the way he masterfully put together this film. Jim Caviezel and Monica Bellucci, of course, are in this film. Jim Caviezel played Jesus in this film. Monica Bellucci, I think, played Mary Magdalene. And they just did a fantastic job just showing the, events leading up to the crucifixion and resurrection, of Christ. And I just think this film just fantastic, and just very well done. So really enjoyed this film. This film can be very tough to watch, which is why I don't revisit it very often, but in terms of impact and really representing what it's representing, it's definitely powerful. So The Passion of the Christ.
That one I saw in theater. I waited till I knew it was at the end of its run, because I wanted to see it. I didn't want to go with anybody. And I wanted to see it by myself. And I did a video a year or so ago about films that made me cry. And that film had the biggest physiological response I've ever had to a movie. I was on the verge of yelling. Like, I just wanted it to stop. And so there's maybe 3 other people in the theater with me, and I was just like in tears. It was incredibly powerful. And I've only seen it once since then. And I waited. My wife was away, and I was like, I'm going to watch it at home, because I knew it would be, again, an emotional experience. And I wanted to kind of reflect on it. And so I've only seen it maybe twice myself. And it's interesting. I know it got there was a lot of controversy around it with, as you mentioned, it's difficult to watch with the torture. But what's interesting is if you study back in Roman history, it was actually fairly tame what you saw on screen. Historically, what happened was worse than what was on the screen. And so the criticism it got of being, you just kind of went overboard with the torture and the violence, it was actually a tamed version of what really happened at that time.
So true.
So that film, I agree with you. That had my biggest emotional response in any film was that one. So and it's not one you can watch at any time.
Right.
For me anyway, I can't.
You have to kind of be prepared for it. And
I 100% agree.
So that's one. The next one is part of a trilogy. And this is a trilogy. This is from the Criterion Collection. It is from Indian director Satyajit Ray. And it basically chronicles the life of a young boy growing up as a young boy in India to being a young man. And it's the Apu trilogy. And it is a series of films. It's 3 films. And this is a great set from the Criterion Collection. And this set is literally a miracle in the sense of the condition that these films are in and the work that they did to restore these films and make it possible for us to see these films is really an extraordinary work, and just something that's great about film restoration, But the first film, Pather Panchali, is the first film in this series. You've also got Aparajito, The Unvanquished. So Pather Panchali's Song of the Little Road. Aparajito is The Unvanquished, and Apur Santhar is the world of Apu when he's an adult. And it's basically the story of this young boy growing up in India. He becomes a grown man, and he just goes through a whole lot of stuff, a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of heartbreak and loss. And it is just an incredible story. I don't want to spoil the details, but there's a lot of heartbreaking things that occur in here, and it's just a great story about the human condition. So definitely recommend it if you haven't seen these films. It starts with Pather Panchali, and just a very touching film.
And what years are those films?
The 1950s. So so Pather Panchali is 1955. You have Aparajito is 1956, and Apur Sansar is 1959. And again, these are from director Satyajit Ray, who is famous Indian director. This is called the Apu Trilogy. So it's really good. It's from the Criterion Collection.
Okay.
Really great box set.
And is
So
that still in print?
It is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
As far as I know, it is. Yeah.
I need to check that out. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. It's really good. And then the next film is a film that is, I think, just wonderful. It basically, there's a lot of films and stories about Martin Luther King Jr. Of course, this one is a recent film. It's Selma. It is from director Ava DuVernay, and it is just a wonderful film, and it chronicles a short period of his life in the, I think, early 1960s, leading up to the Voting Rights Act being signed by President Lyndon Johnson. This covers the march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, and the march, I believe, over the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And you've got Common in here. You got Oprah Winfrey. The actor, I forget his name, David Oyelowo. He plays Martin Luther King Jr. Carmen Ejijo plays his wife, Coretta Scott King. And this is just a wonderful film. And this, if you haven't seen, of course, Common and John Legend, they wrote the song Glory. And it is just, you hear that song and it just brings tears. It's just an incredible song. And if you haven't seen them performing at the Oscars that year, they actually won the Academy Award for that song. Wow. Definitely recommend just, going on YouTube and just looking up that performance. It is just fantastic and just a great song. So Glory. And this is Selma, great film, Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
And another film is, another film is a film that's from the Criterion Collection, and it's from director Ken Loach, which I've never seen a Ken Loach film before. This is the only Ken Loach film I've ever seen. And it's from 2016, and it's called I, Daniel Blake. And this is a film that when I saw this movie, this is one of those films that just kind of stops you in your tracks. It really deals with the British social system. And it's basically about a man who is just fighting to get the basic rights and benefits from the social system that he's worked his whole life for. And just all the red tape that he's having to go through and the runaround working with the government and the social system to get access to his benefits. And so this is him right here. So it deals with him. It also deals with his encounters with a young lady that he befriends who has two young children. So she's a single mother and she's struggling. She's on, welfare. They're all struggling, right? And it just deals with their trials and tribulations. And you really see a lot of heartbreak in this film. And you really get a sense of the lengths to which, a parent or a mother would go to take care of her children, the types of things that people would do to take care of those that they love, and it's just an amazing film. So it's called I, Daniel Blake.
Cool.
So love that film. And then the last film is a film that is arresting and kind of funny and jarring all at the same time. And it stars J. Jonah Jameson or J.K. Simmons or the Affleck. What insurance company does he do? Is it American Family? I don't know. Yeah, farmers. We are farmers. So J.K. Simmons in Whiplash. Yeah. So Miles Teller, J.K. Simmons. This is a great film. Of course, I think you mentioned that you are into drumming. So Miles Teller is a drummer in this film, and J.K. Simmons is a music teacher, and this is the role that gave J.K. Simmons an Oscar. He won an Oscar for his role in this film. He's a very tough music teacher. And really what touched me about this film is just some of the life lessons that he teaches his students about why he is as hard as he is on his students. And you learn about, his philosophy that he brings to his, to teaching, and just why he's so hard on people. And it's just fascinating, to hear his philosophy. So,
wow. Well,
yeah,
I have seen that. I think I just recently rewatched the final scene of that film. It's one I need to revisit though, because it was unbelievable. But I have a lot of trailers I need to watch after our conversation. Daniel Blake sounds phenomenal. The Apu trilogy. I definitely want to check those out. So cool. Question number 4 is, what 5 films do you consider to be underrated films?
All right, underrated films. So this one, I think that question was probably the toughest one for me to think of. But I believe I've got. Let's see, what pile am I on here over here? Got these different piles. I think I've lost track. Oh, here they are over here. I almost forgot what pile I had. But yeah, this is, I think this is one of the great questions that you have here. Underrated films. This is a film that I just absolutely love. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal as Nightcrawler. This is from 2014. I love this film. This is such a great movie. Yeah, this movie, it takes place in LA. It's from the producer of Michael Clayton, starring George Clooney. And this is just a great film. And I love Gyllenhaal's character. Yeah, he just does a great job in this movie. And I'm trying to remember the lady who plays in this film, Renee Russo. Yeah, she plays the newswoman that he works with. And it just gives me a like a GTA vibe, just the whole LA, streets, and it's all there. It's just a fantastic film. I think it's underrated for how good this film is. This film might be the best film to come out in 2014, one of the best. And you mentioned Star Trek films. Here's another one, Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country.
Wow.
I really, really love this film. It sort of has that political element to it that reminds you of the Cold War between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. Has that classic line from Spock in it, only Nixon could go to China. Just a great, great Star Trek movie, with the Federation dealing with the Klingons in a way that you don't typically see the Federation dealing with the Klingons. So really love this film. And just, seeing these three together, this is like the holy trinity of science fiction movies right here. I mean, Kirk, William Shatner, DeForest Kelly, and Leonard Nimoy. It just doesn't get any better than that,
Absolutely. I'm so glad all of them got released to Blu-ray,
Yeah.
So good to have all those.
Oh, yeah. And then another film, this film here, I love Clint Eastwood as a director. And if you ask me my favorite Clint Eastwood film, here it is right here. It is 1971, Clint Eastwood's directorial debut, Play Misty for Me. This movie is my favorite of all of his films. I absolutely love Clint Eastwood in this movie. If you've seen Fatal Attraction, this is where that comes from.
Okay.
So Clint Eastwood plays a disc jockey in Northern California. I think Carmel, he's a DJ, and he goes in and does his job every day. He takes requests on the radio, and there's this lady played by Jessica Walter who recently passed away, who calls in every night and asks him to play Misty for me. And so he plays that song. Eventually they meet up, and she's not all together there. The elevator doesn't quite make it all the way up to the top, and that becomes pretty evident pretty early in the film. And she's a psycho, and it's sort of a precursor of films like Fatal Attraction and it
Okay.
inspired those films. So this is from 1971. It has a great jazz concert in the film, in the movie,
Really?
and it is just a great, great film. Play Misty for me. So this is this is one of my top 25 favorite films.
Wow.
So I love this movie.
Cool. I've never heard of that one. I'm definitely looking that
Yeah.
up.
I mean, it's underrated. I mean, for me, it's my favorite Eastwood film. Most people wouldn't say that, but it is for me. And let's see, the next underrated film is my favorite Steven Spielberg film. And this is a film that most people wouldn't, call their favorite a Spielberg film, but it's mine, and it's The Color Purple.
Hmm.
So I absolutely love this film. It's based on the Alice Walker novel. And, of course, I like this particular edition because it opens up into a little book. And this is just a great movie. Whoopi Goldberg plays a girl named Celie. This takes place in Georgia in the 1930s. There's a period piece starring her and Danny Glover, Adolph Caesar, and several other wonderful actors. Oprah Winfrey is in this film. And, you mentioned, seeing these people before they became big legends. So this is Oprah Winfrey in 1985, before she became what she is now. She was at the early part of her stardom.
Wow.
So you got her in it, Whoopi Goldberg, Danny Glover, and just a legendary story. The story arc of Celie in this film, when you see her at the beginning to the woman that she becomes at the end, is an amazing transformation. So I love this film. I think it's it's my favorite Spielberg film, but I can understand that, for most people, if you ask them their favorite Spielberg, they'll say Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's List. And, I wouldn't argue with that, but this is my personal favorite, of this film.
Awesome.
So I love that. And I think, was that 5? Or is that 4? I think that was 4.
I think that's 4, yes.
And then, let's see, I think I might have written down the other one. The Color Purple. Oh, yes. I don't have this one on physical, but the last one is The Karate Kid Part 2 from 1986.
Oh, really?
And I think that's definitely an underrated film in terms of how good it is. It takes place in like Okinawa. It's the Part 2 of the Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio and Miyagi, played by Pat Morita. And I just love that film. It's got this great song from Peter Cetera, "The Glory of Love," and that song just plays in my head over and over again. I love that song, and I love the setting. I love the story. The rivalry between Miyagi and Sato, and just the relationship between Miyagi and the lady he loved back in Okinawa, and the young lady that Daniel-san falls in love with over there in Okinawa. I just thought it was just a beautiful, beautiful story, and it might be better than the original Karate Kid.
Wow.
So I really liked it.
Nice. I watched the original Karate Kid for the first time in decades about a year ago. And it was such a trip watching it because it's been so long. And it was so cool watching it. I'm looking forward to eventually introducing that one to my daughter. But that was a great film.
It's definitely a great one for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, that's number 4. So on to the final question, James.
Right.
What 5 films bring you the most joy, hope, laughter? They put a smile on your face.
Okay. So over here, I got a few comedies here. Of course, I mentioned one Eddie Murphy movie. I'll mention another one, Coming to America.
Yeah.
The original, not whatever that was that came out last year.
Yeah.
But this is the original one from 1988. Of course, this is the first Blu-ray that came out. And this is the 4K. And I mean, what more can I say about this film? It's just an incredible comedy. So many iconic moments in this film. He and Arsenio Hall play different characters, with the guys in the barbershop, and there's just so much that's going on in this film. So many sight jokes and gags. I just love this film. Just a great film.
Yeah, it's
So,
absolute classic.
To America. What's that?
Absolute classic.
Oh yeah, love that. And let's see, another film. Of course, I mentioned the Coen brothers. I love their films. Love every film. This is, of course, their classic film starring Jeff Bridges as the dude, and that's The Big Lebowski. What can I say? I mean, the rug, it just ties the room together, you know. I mean, it's just this character is just a hoot. I mean, him Absolutely. And John Goodman and Steve Buscemi, and just the whole story is just absolutely crazy. I love that scene where he meets the other Lebowski in his office, and they have that conversation. It's just a hoot. So I love this film, The Big Lebowski. And then another film is I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to go with this Volume 1 and Volume 2 as a single film, but it's Kill Bill.
Oh, wow.
I love Quentin Tarantino, and I just love these two films. And these films just put a smile on my face, even though there's a lot of violence, but there's a lot of humor in these films, you know.
Sure.
Like the scene where the bride and Vivica Fox are in the middle of fighting and a school bus rolls up, you know, and just the situational, you know, humor that represents, you know, and the little girl walking up, and just that whole dynamic and the way that plays out is just great. So I love these films. These films are actually inspired by film called The Lady Snowblood from the 1970s, a Japanese film that's in the Criterion Collection. And I just recently saw The Lady Snowblood. And when I watched that movie, I just couldn't help but think to myself, that's where Quentin Tarantino, my God, he totally ripped Kill Bill from this Japanese movie, because you see beat for beat, he literally, he put his own spin on it, but he got the idea for this from The Lady Snowblood from 1971, that Japanese film, you know. So seeing that is definitely eye-opening. If you love Kill Bill, I definitely recommend watching The Lady Snowblood. It is like, wow, that's where he got the inspiration from. So
Tarantino has a unique ability to weave comedy and violence together.
Yes.
Very unique about how he's able to do that.
Oh yeah. I mean, he is so good at it. You know, of course, I think his recent one, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I really liked that one. I walked out of the theater feeling like, trying to figure out how I feel about this. Am I a little disappointed in this? But it's grown on me, you know. Okay. And of course, the last 20 minutes of that film is just bonkers. It's just crazy. But yeah, I love that. Another film is a film that's just completely just crazy. And it stars Chris Rock and Bernie Mac, Head of State.
Oh, wow. I haven't seen that in a long time.
This is from 2003.
Yeah.
This is Chris Rock running for president. And you know, it is just silly, crazy, dumb, stupid humor. And I absolutely love it. You got Robin Givens is in this as well. And it's just, it's really good. It's from 2003. So love this film. And of course, it has the late, great Bernie Mac in it. Yeah. And then, of course, a film that doesn't require any much description, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, you know, Matthew Broderick. So, you know, just a classic John Hughes film. So absolutely love this film. So
I just saw that for the first time 3-4 weeks ago.
Okay. What'd you think about it?
I absolutely loved it. Everybody I know has told me about it. My wife loves 80s music and film, and I just am not into it. I like, from the 80s, I like Rocky, Rambo, some U2, Bob Marley's final albums, and that's about all I like from the 80s. And so I'm not as big into 80s culture, but that film everyone has told me about, and I know it's a legendary film.
Yep.
And I watched it, about a month ago, and I had the best time from start to finish. It was so
Cool.
good. I will say,
Yeah.
as a parent, I wanted to, like, Ferris was like, he just like, that kid needs to get hit. Like, he's just like such a jerk of a kid, like all he's doing. And so as a parent, I was like, man, I just hope my child never does anything along these, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I laughed so hard. I loved the principal's assistant. I thought was hilarious. And his best friend, I thought was hilarious too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I love it.
That's a great film. I love that. I need to it's been a while since I've seen it. I need to rewatch this. It
was excellent.
It's a hoot. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, that's awesome, man. That's the 5. And
and I actually had a few more recommendations. If you
absolutely
your watch list, I got a few Criterions of I'm gonna like recommend like 4 Criterions if you haven't watched these. Diabolique.
Okay.
This is if you like Hitchcock. This is from director Henri Georges Clouzot, and this is a really, really good film. It's about 2 women who are planning to murder her husband and her mistress. So one woman is the wife, the other is the mistress, and they're plotting to kill this man, and they're planning the perfect murder. And of course, there is no perfect crime. So this is a good one. Highly recommend it. Paris, Texas is also really, really good. This is from 1984. And this stars the late, great Harry Dean Stanton. This is a really, really good film. So I recommend this one. And this is a film from Götz Spielmann. It's an Austrian film called Revanch. This is a really fascinating, interesting film. It's from 2008. And it's like a thriller. And I really, really enjoyed this film.
Okay.
And I know you're a Jean Arthur fan. Absolutely. And you might already have this, but this is Only Angels Have Wings, Criterion Collection, with one of my favorite actors, Cary Grant, and of course, Jean Arthur. Mm-hmm. This is spine number 806 in the collection, and it's Only Angels Have Wings from 1939, which is one of the great years in film.
Yeah. So. I have, from what's been released, there's 3 films. They're on really budget DVDs, and she's not even credited in one of them. And after those 3 DVDs, I've got all of her released filmography. With the exception of Kino has a double feature, and I forget the name of the film, announced to come out in 2022. So yeah, I am a huge fan. Cool. And I've collected almost everything. And I need to see more of her filmography. I've seen, of course, Only Angels Have Wings, and I definitely want to see more of more of her films. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington was my introduction to her. And seeing Jimmy Stewart and her on screen. And what captivates me about her is she is hilarious, like brilliant comedic actress, but she does drama well, but she also goes toe to toe with Cary Grant. I will say in Only Angels Have Wings is she was different in that film, and that she was more fawning over Grant, where in like a Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, she's toe to toe with Jimmy Stewart. Like, she's tough and tender at the same time. And she's so funny and has such great comedic timing that she's able to go toe to toe with people. So that one was my introduction to her. And I just, I've grabbed everything, almost everything since.
Cool.
Just, outstanding. Criterion released, I think she has 2 films on the Criterion label, but I would love to see them release a few more.
Cool. So. Yeah, I have Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I have not seen that yet. That's in my backlog. So I'm making it a point to try to put a dent in my backlog.
Well, I've got a short stack of films to watch, and you mentioned Selma, and that's in my nightstand. I usually have 4 or 5 films of this is what I'm watching next, and Selma is on that list for me to watch in the next week or so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes. It's definitely a good one. I really recommend it. It's it's part of history, and I think
Yeah.
Ava DuVernay does a good job of portraying that. And of course, the common John Legend song is just double
Yeah.
thumbs up. So
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome.
yeah.
Well, man, you have some great titles. And I have a
Yeah.
lot of trailer watching when I get home.
Oh, cool.
It's going to require multiple bowls of cereal.
Okay. Well, and I'm gonna have to look up Homicidal, and I'm gonna have to check out Picard. I think it's being streamed by Paramount. I think.
I think so.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. See if I can watch that, and gonna probably take a look at Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's good. Well, a great job on the roundtable on the other night for the roundup with at Ken at Mid-Level Media's channel.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I had a great time on there with had of course Ken and Tony, Basement Blues, Stephanie, and with Movie Chatter and Tim Talks Talkie. So first time meeting all of them, and of course Ken is a hoot. he is a character.
He is. Yeah, I was telling Tim and Stephanie, I was talking to them last week, and I was like, that is such a killer panel. Like, I was super excited to hear all of you talk about what you'd found. So so that was a great panel. You guys did an outstanding job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, what do you have coming up on the channel? I know when you did your Taste of with Billy Wilder, you announced you have some additional directors coming, but what can we expect from you in the next weeks, months?
Well, in this month of February, I plan to do a Taste Director series for Wes Anderson. So Wes Anderson is a director that features prominently in the Criterion Collection. Yeah. So definitely looking forward to doing that. Also looking forward to review of Taxi Driver on 4K. So this one of these files I had, Taxi Driver, that I recently saw in 4K, and that disc looks so incredible. I mean, so I plan to do a review of that on the channel, and then also plan to do a series of videos on my complete Criterion Collection. So did a poll recently on my community tab, just asking, would people be interested in that, and got a pretty good response on it. So plan to roll that out here, over the next few weeks, break it up into parts. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to sharing with the community and, just getting people's thoughts and feedback on that. One of the things I love, about the community is, just as you're doing right now, writing down these different, films on your watch list. I'm doing that all the time with, when people make comments, they'll mention directors and films that they've watched related to a film that I just reviewed. And I'm like, wow, I never heard of that director. I never even heard of that film,
Yeah.
And, it just reminds me that the more I see, it just makes me realize that there's so much more that I just haven't seen or probably will ever see,
Yeah.
But, that's the beauty of what we enjoy, is that there's so much to watch out there.
Yeah. I heard one young fella doing a video. This was maybe a year or so ago. And he said, I think I've caught up and got all of the movies that I ever want to see. And so now I'm just waiting for new stuff to come out. And I was like, oh, fella, there are decades of films that you need to dive into, and you have no idea. And that's what I agree with you. Like stuff like this, so often I'll hear a friend recommend a title, and then I check out a film and I love it. And I'm like, I need to see everything this director has ever put out. Or like with Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and I was introduced to Jean Arthur. It's like, I have to see everything she's ever put out. And it'll never end. There's more than I could ever possibly watch. Yeah. And so when I heard that comment of, I think I got everything I want, just got to wait for new stuff, I was like, man, there's just an ocean of film for you to discover. And
it's like there's a whole big iceberg. You've just got the tip of it, and there's so much out there,
Yep. And I think that's what the biggest strength of the Criterion Collection is that they do such an amazing job of introducing the world to film from all over the planet. We're all typically, wherever we're from, we're familiar with that stuff. And it's just introduced me to so many foreign films that that I've come to love. It introduced me to silent films, which I wasn't into prior to the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
Now I love the stuff.
Oh yeah. Charlie
so
Chaplin
good.
and all that. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm really looking forward to that. Especially I'm looking forward to that Criterion Collection video. I can't get enough of those videos, man. Like,
oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's going to be great. And it's, especially the Criterion videos. They're terrible in that I add so many to my list.
Yeah.
And they're not cheap budget movies. And so my wish list for a Criterion, when that gets expanding, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a problem,
Yeah. But
so
yeah,
thankfully for the sales.
What's that?
Thankfully for those biannual sales, the Barnes and Noble sales.
Yep. And, in the flash sales, I believe there's a flash sale. There may be a flash sale in February and October. So they do a 24-hour flash sale on the Criterion site. So, be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. Well, James, thanks so much, man, for taking the time. At the end of the day, it's 10 o'clock now. Yeah. So I do appreciate it. And I love your channel. I think your strengths in your channel is the diversity of what you highlight, like you said, from the 20s through till now. And then also, I think you just do a really great job of really thoughtfully engaging with film. It's not just kind of like, here's this one and this one. You really thoughtfully engage with these films. And for people who are passionate about film and want to learn, it's just a huge wealth of great information and inspiration to dive into more films. So I think you've got a really great channel. And I know I've really enjoyed your content.
Well, thank you. I mean, and I definitely enjoy your channel as well, John. I mean, I followed you, for, quite a while, here, on YouTube, and really enjoy the passion that you bring to the content that you make. Just hearing you talk about, the different films, like, I can really feel the love that you have for Rocky, your favorite, just a passion that, that you bring to talking about the different films, Gene Arthur, Rocky, these spotlights on different, actors, I believe based on their birthdays.
Yeah.
And just, the different series that you're doing. And this series, The Five, is just absolutely phenomenal. And I'm picking up new films every time I watch one of these. So definitely appreciate the invitation, and, glad to, have a chance to, speak with you on it, and definitely keep doing your thing. You got an awesome thing going so far.
Great. Well, I appreciate it. And it's great to actually meet you. It's funny watching some of my favorite YouTubers. We watch, I've watched countless hours of content. I feel like I know these people, and then these situations is my actual first time meeting, but so it's great to actually meet you, and I always appreciate your content.
Yeah. Great to meet you as well, John.
All right, James. Well, I hope you have a great week.
All right. You too. Have a great week.
Right. Well, friends, thank you so much for checking out this episode. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please do hit like, subscribe if you want more of this kind of content. There are 14 other episodes. Feel free to check those out. They're all here on the channel. And we've got more episodes on the way of the series, The Five. So again, friends, thank you so much for checking it out. I appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time. Please do take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.